Hi, welcome back to my channel, The Reclusive Crafter. My name's Dawn. This is another section on the Recipe Keeper journal, which was designed by Scrimping Mummy. If you haven't already been along to her channel, please do pop along and have a look. Just a few housekeeping bits. If you could subscribe, that would be lovely, and like and share the video. That would help me tremendously. Since my last video, I've done a little bit to the journal. I've been a bit busy really and haven't had a lot of time to do anything, if I'm completely honest. But I have managed to get the front cover done now. Although it's not completed, I will be adding further embellishments to that. I've made a start on the spine. I'm going to finish that today to show you how to do that, and I've also put my back cover on. So a little bit of movement there, and I've put a few pockets in, which I'm going to go through and show you how to do those as well. So just to let you see what we're doing, I'm going to do the spine first. So you may recall, if you've seen previous videos, that I did the spine with the connections or the threads on the outside. To hide all that, what I'm doing is I'm laying the separate threads across the back of the spine. I'm going to seal those down with double-sided tape, and then I'm just going to seal the whole thing over with some of this fabric tape, and then we're going to put the cover spine section on as well. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm sure you're all familiar with double-sided tape. I'm just going to lay this flat because it was easier to do that, and just lay the thread so that it's even, and then pop your tape across the thread to hold it in place, and the same with that second section there, and just bring the tape down so that it's just securing the thread in place. And I've no idea if anybody else has ever done this. This is just the way that I've decided to do it, to tidy the spine up and to secure everything down. Okay, and now I'm just going to lift up, if I can do it with the double-sided tape. Sometimes getting these bits up are a bit fiddly. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to take these bits off. They have had a good burnish down, but well, with the exception of this one, but with it covering up the thread, it does lift a little. But I just feel that the double-sided tape will help to secure that thread down and act as a barrier so that you won't end up with a big bunch in the spine. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 sections of tape down. I think what I might do, yeah, I think I'll go within the section of the border. Hopefully I've just cut that right. Yeah, so we're just going to pop that in, and then I'll do a second section for the next bit. And then just try and get that as far over as I can. That just decided to attach itself to the double-sided tape. Okay, just smooth that in place. And then that piece is big enough. Okay, I'm just going to trim this one down a little bit. Don't need it quite as wide as that. We'll probably take about 1 centimetre of it off, just with a little bit. Let's have a look. That's better. Not quite so wide. And then we'll just take this off. I always find these bits so fiddly to do. There we go. Okay, and then I'm just going to, I don't want it too far over the spine. About there. Lovely. And that's that. So that's secured the embroidery thread that's holding the signatures in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover all of that now with what I've chosen to do the spine on. I went with this design with the orange border, so I decided to go with this also with the orange border. I love these spices, I think it's beautiful, and for a recipe journal it's absolutely ideal. And now I'm going to cover the spine in just the plain orange gingham, which I think is lovely. I've already cut bits out of this and I'll show you what I've been doing with that in a moment. So I'm just going to trim this bit of paper up, if I can find my large ruler, which is here. Let me just stand that over there out of the way for the moment. And then I'm just, the nice thing about this paper is you've got guidelines, which is perfect. That's that one. I'm going to keep that because I can use that for other bits and pieces. And then we're going to do this one as well. And I'll keep that. I don't know if I'll use it or not, but I'll keep it. And now what I want to do is I just want to see where this needs to be cut, because I'd like this to be the same length as the main part. So that's going to be on that line there. Okay, and now I just want to see the width that I want. So the whole width is just slightly under 7. So I think I'd like to do that. It's actually 6.5. So I think I'll do that at 6 centimetres, which will give me a good coverage over the tape that's on there. So if I just measure out 6 centimetres, that would take it to that line there, which I think would be perfect. Okay, let's cut that and see how that looks. And again, with this being a square gingham, it's really handy just to follow the lines so that you know you're getting a true line. Okay, let's see how that looks. And that is absolutely perfect, I feel. Let me just... Yeah, very happy with that. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this flat on the table. And I'm going to now glue this down. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac because it will just give me a little bit of wiggle room to be able to move it around. It doesn't tend to dry quite as quick as the glitter glue. So it just gives you that time to wiggle things around, make sure that they get in place. Plenty of glue so that it's all secured into place. Lovely. Okay. And now I'm just going to line this up. And I want to try and keep it in line with the other 2 placements that I've got down on the front and back. Probably about there, looks about right. I'm just going to... No, it's way off. Okay, let me move that over. So that needs to move over that way. That's the beauty of the Fabri-Tac glue. It does give you that time to wiggle things into place to make sure they're exactly where you want them. And that looks good. Okay, a little bit of glue escaping there. Give it a good push down, make sure it's securely into place. And as you can see, that gives you a nice blind spine. You can't actually see the threads there at all. Just tidy up that bit of glue that's just oozed out there. It's really nice to be getting on with this again. I've been a bit busy of late and really haven't had time to get into things the way I would have liked to. So I apologise for the time lapse between videos, which isn't great. There we go, that's that one done. So we've now got the front cover, a few more little embellishments are going to go on there. We've got the spine done, which again, I'm going to put something down the spine there. I'm not quite decided yet what that'll be. And we've got the back cover done. So that's the folder section done, which I'm really pleased with. And then what I decided to start on was some little recipe cards. So these I think are absolutely lovely. Amanda has got these in her kit, and they come in two sections. So you've got the recipe, the ingredients and directions there, and then you've also got a recipe and directions section there. Now what I've done is I've made pockets out of these, and then I've done like a waterfall cascade with them. And I'm going to show you how to make them and then show you how to insert them as well. But then what I've also done is I've included a little card into the pockets. And as you pull that out, it just gives you a little section there to be able to put a photograph of that particular recipe inside the pocket, which I thought was quite a sweet little addition. And then the little tabs, all I did was used a hole punch to punch them out. As you can see, that's one of the sections that I punched them all out, and I just coordinated the colours. So on the back I put the orange, and on the front I put the green, and the photo of that particular recipe goes inside. I attached them or secured them down with a little bit of extra washi tape, for no other reason really, apart from the fact I've got loads of washi tape. I found these with the like little recipe bits on, and I thought that would make a nice little addition to the recipe keeper. And then I've also done this one as well, the same, and this one has got little cakes and things on it. So I'll go ahead and show you how I made those. So very, very simple. Let me just find my little pieces. So these are how they actually come. So those are the pieces, and I've cut it all out ready to go to save a little bit of time. Okay, so those two pieces are for the tab. That's to actually connect it into the journal itself. And then I've got lots of different washi tapes here to be able to add a little embellishment as well. Okay, so what I did to start with, I'm just going to check everything's in view. It is lovely. Okay, just make sure that's not blocked. Put the lid on my Fabri-Tac, because otherwise that'll all dry out, and pop that out of the way. Okay, so that'll be the side that's not glued. I'd already marked it up to show me what's not glued. Just run along the edges. I see crafters do this all the time, and they whiz along with the glue. I'm not quite sure how they do it so quick. Maybe it's because I do it so slowly that I have an issue with it. then just make sure that is up the right way. Now then, that needs to be up the opposite way, because when you lift it up you want that, so when that's lifted up that needs to be that way round. So make sure that so it's effectively looking like you're gluing it on upside down, but you're actually not. Okay, and I did find one of these cards is very slightly bigger than the other, so I just trimmed them off. Okay, glue those down, and that gives you your little pocket there. And I'm just going to trim off that edge. Just pop my glue in. Jeez, I can never do this. There we go. Trim off my edges. Trying desperately not to get my head in shot. That's that one. If you can hear noises in the background, I've got one of the dogs in here with me at the moment, and I think he's licking his paws, which is enough to drive you mad in itself. There we go. Okay, so that's all the edges trimmed up. I'm just going to get my hole punch and just punch the edge. Okay, and I'm just going to go around the edge with a little bit of Distress ink, just to hide those little white pieces that can be seen. It's my intention to do each signature very similar, so I've got one of these recipe cascades in each signature. My pad might be drying out a little bit because it's catching. As you can see, some of these little bits can be quite time consuming, which is why I've tried to do a little bit in advance and just show you how to do the main bit without taking you through every single fiddly process. There we go, that's that one done. You don't have to distress, by the way, it's entirely choice. Some people like to, some people don't. I think it's quite a nice finish to some things. That's that little bit done. And then while we're here, I'm just going to do these little bits as well, just the little tab bits. And here's my doorbell. This one's fallen to pieces on me. There we go. And that's that one done. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to do the card inside. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the card actually fits. And that glue's gone all the way to the edge, which we didn't want. Okay, just make sure that's open all the way down. And then we're just going to slide the card in just to make sure it fits, because this is the best time really to trim anything up if it doesn't fit quite as you want it to. Okay, so that it does fit, but I'm just going to take the tiniest little slither off just to ease it in a little bit easier, because when it's got the photo on, it will make it a little bit thicker and therefore a little bit more difficult to squeeze in. The glue's still going to be a little bit damp at the moment, so it will be, but that's perfect. I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I actually did the white frames and the word photo after I put these on, but I'm going to do it first because that was a kind of afterthought on my part. So I'm going to do that first this time, which will make it easier. I won't have to worry about the tab. And I literally did this by eye, so if you prefer to measure everything up, I'm just going to get my glasses. If you prefer to measure everything up, obviously do so. But I just did this little bit by eye, and I'm using really cheap little marker pen. It's a Crawford and Black, and it's a white paint marker, which for those of you that are in the UK was from the shop called The Works. I pick up quite a few bits and pieces in there. And they're very well priced. Sometimes they're not the best quality, but they do the job sometimes. I think this is, just get this to work. That's it, there we go. I just wiped the ruler down afterwards, just that it doesn't, I use my smaller ruler actually, just that it doesn't leave any other marks on the page, because it is a paint and it just takes a little bit of time to dry. I found with these as well that if you go in one direction rather than going backwards and forwards over the line, it tends to work better and gives you a cleaner line. There we go, that's that bit done. In fact, I just might go over that line there again, just to, hasn't given quite a clean line there. I'm just going to go from there and across that line again. That's better. Okay, so just give that just a little bit of time. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's literally just a little white paint marker, and then to put in the wording, again, all done by hand. My writing isn't that terrific, to be honest with you, but I found that by using a ruler, just to give me a guide, there we go. And again, if you're not confident to do that, you could print those off on a computer, just on a Word document, cut them out and stick them on if you choose to do so. I kind of like the rustic look. It is a handmade journal, and that's all done by hand. And then we're just going to put the tab on. And what I did when I first did these was just lined up where the tab needed to go. So that's the centre of the tab there, just so that it gives you just a rough guide as to where to put that. I apologise if any of this is out of shot. I keep forgetting everything needs to be in view for you. I tend to work with everything quite close to me normally. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the first bit on, which needs to be green. Just, oh, got the shakes. Just centrally. That's that one on. And this one's a little bit easier to get on because you just follow the line of the other one. And then that one, I did try and just make sure that, just to keep those, because there are lines there, to try and keep them as true as you can. And that's that one done. A little bit of glue there. There we go. And now that's ready to go inside the pocket. And with a bit of luck, that all lines up lovely. There we go. Now this next section is your gusset. The gusset just needs to be roughly the same length as the bit that you're sticking in, and then just miter off the corners, which gives you quite a nice finish. And then I've got my other pockets here, excuse me for reaching over, and these are the ones that I've already put together. So that's the front, so that's the back. We're going to pop that on there. There we go. Now that's ready to stick in. The other ones I did sandwich between the two, but you can do it either way. So you can either pop it on top or you can sandwich it in between the two. I actually think I prefer that because it seems to be sitting better like that, but again, personal choice. And then to stick these in, find the page that you want to put them on. I decided to pop them on here. And I just need to cover that to give them base to sit on. I've hopefully got some more gingham. If not, there we go. That looks like the piece I need. Just going to check if that's wide enough. It's just marginally too narrow. I thought I had another piece of the green gingham somewhere, but it's not looking favourable. So yeah, that's not even gonna, that might work. Oh, that piece seems to be just slightly wider. Maybe if I go up to that section there, just gives me enough there. Okay, let's go with it. It's not a million miles out. Let me just have a look and see what I need to trim off. I just want a little bit of a border there, so I think if I take that down to there, so that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, four rows off. There we go. 4 rows off, keep that little bit. And then I'm just going to again glue this down. Pop my pin in my other glue. I'm terrible for forgetting that. There we go. Okay. And again, Fabri-Tac, for the only reason, it just, with it being a bigger piece, it just gives you the chance just to get things in place before it all seals itself. I do find that the glitter glue dries relatively quickly, and sometimes it's already started drying before you've even got all the glue on. The other option, of course, is glue stick. I tend to use Yoo-Hoo, but again, you can use whatever works for you. Okay. And then we're just going to pop that in place, leaving a little bit of a border around. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and then with the pockets, I do tend to work from the bottom up, as I find it positions them a little bit better, or for me it does anyway, to keep them in place. And I'm just going to check positioning before I attach anything, just to make sure that I'm leaving enough room. Yeah, that's going to have to come down a little bit on this one, I think. Yeah, I need to come down a little bit. Each of the bags I've used have all been slightly different sizes, so it's given me different widths to work with as I've been putting the pockets in. So I'm just going to check, but it's really nice to have the gingham paper, because it gives you a really nice guideline to be able to position these to make sure that you're getting them all true, and it looks really nice when they're all in place correctly, and that just fits nicely. So that bottom one, I'm just going to line across that bottom line there. So let's do that. Okay, a little bit of glue. Now these are actually quite fiddly to get in. But once you've got the one in, it all tends to fall in place. If you get the first one positioned properly and just take your time with it, it makes it a lot easier to get the others in as well. I'm just going to move that over just slightly, just so we can see a little bit of that page around all of it. Just going to lift that up and just make sure those edges are all in nicely, and just give it a moment to dry. Don't be in too much of a rush to do this. Some of these things are good if you just take a little bit of time over them. So that's the first one in. Okay, we're now going to move on to the second one. And again, the way I did this was I measured from the bottom, lining them up on both sides, and then it naturally falls into place. Just tuck in that gusset, hold it down just for a couple of seconds just to let it take. The reason I lift it up is I found if you don't, the glue, if any glue comes out, it tends to stick the whole thing down, and then it doesn't flip properly. So again, just holding that in place. Perfect. Okay. And some of these I didn't use double printed, and some of them I used scrap print paper to print on. So they've got all different things on the bit that you're gluing down, but makes no odds because you can't see it. Just went over that a little bit there. And again, just making sure you line those pockets up nicely, tuck it in. Lift it up, just hold it in place just while the glue takes. There's a little bit of glue there, and that's what I was saying. If you were to have it holding that with that flap down, that would have stuck itself down. And I did experience that, which is how I know not to do it. That's that one done. As you can see, it makes no odds what's on the back side of these things because you don't see them once they're all glued down. And again, line it up, making sure that you're in the same place each time. The sides are all there. Lift the flap up so it doesn't glue itself down. Push it into place. Just hold it to let it catch. And you can see why I haven't taken you through every single one of these. It can be quite time consuming, and you'd have been so bored by the time we got to the end of it. That's that one in place. And then the final one, and again, line it up nicely. Edges are all there. Tuck it in, and we've just left ourselves a nice little one square border at the top, and everything is all nice and neatly lined up, which is fabulous. That's what we like. There we go. Now with the others, I'm just going to push that pocket in a little bit. There we go. Okay, with the others, I went through and added some washi tape just on these bits. Two reasons. A, I think it just gives a little bit of extra stability to that particular gusset, and it also looks quite nice as well. So if you've got washi tape that you want to make use of, I used I've used two different types up till now. I used this on the first set, and I think it was that one that I used on the second set, which is quite nice because it's got all the little cakes on. I think I'm going to use this one again purely because I like the orange gingham, and we've got orange gingham there, so I'm just going to glue stick. I've got some glue stick there. I have. I'm just going to add a bit of glue stick to the washi tape because some of these washi tapes, they do tend to lift a little bit, some of them, especially the cheaper ones tend to. Although this has got little animals on it as well, it has got food on it, which I thought was quite a good thing for the recipe keeper. And now I'm just going to pop that. Ooh, sticking myself on the glue. Don't do that, Dawn. There we go. That's that one. Just holding that in place. And just cut that off. So that's a bit there. I'm concentrating, you can tell, can't you? There we go. That's the first one done. Okay, that's that one done. And then just go down. I'm going to line these up and cut them before I glue them. I think that's probably the easier way to do it. That's the way I did it for the last two ones, and gluing it first. I'm struggling a bit with it. and just glue that off. Also makes it easier to put the glue on as well. And then pop in place. Okay. I also found the washi tape helps to hide a few little sins in there as well. So there's good reason sometimes to use a little bit of embellishment. Okay. That's that one done. Crease in that. Getting a bit sticky now. And then the final one. There we go. Now as I've put those down, I haven't gone completely up to the edge. I've just left a section there to stop it from catching when you flip them back over again. I'm just going to wipe that down. A bit of tissue, fold it back over, give it a good burnish down. Just wiping any excess glue off so they don't all end up sticking together. And that's the third waterfall in. So we've now got one in the first signature, one in the second signature, and one in the third signature, which is great. And that's that all done. So the next bit I want to do, let me just check the time. Next section I want to do is, I found when I was going through my mother-in-law's recipe bits, I found this little old book which I thought was just adorable, and it was all fallen to pieces. I've just reattached the cover of it, and I'm going to pop this into the journal. I thought it would be nice to add it in the front there, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So I need to design a little pocket to pop that in, but it needs a little gusset because of the thickness of the book. So I've decided to do that, and I'm going to be using the same design that's on the cover, so that when it's on there it'll actually just fit in with the page nicely and just actually look like it's the cover itself. So that's the next bit I'm going to do, so hopefully you'll all join me for that. In the meantime, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll look forward to seeing you all shortly. Thank you so much for your time today.